Welcome back to Strong Hands Reborn Dad. My name is Odie, and today I am joined with my beautiful wife, Raven, making her third appearance technically on the channel. She was in the very first video we released, clear back in January. She was in last week's short as the both antagonist and supporter. So, thank you, Raven, for joining me on this week's episode.
You're welcome.
Today we're going to be chatting about our family, and we're going to be giving you guys a little bit of insight into things like our desire to maybe have another child, an actual child, and talk about the reborn dolls, what they mean for us, and just tell you guys a little bit more about Raven and I in general. Thought it'd be kind of cool to do a family dynamic since ours is a little bit different. So let's get into the video. All right, so welcome back, and thanks again for tuning in. If this is your first time here, please give us a like and a subscribe. Really means a lot to us to have your support, and it means a lot to know that you guys are sticking around and enjoying the content. So love to have it. Before we get into today's video, as always, I always introduce the doll of the week, and this week, because of the special meaning, I have my little Sarah. And if you'd like to look and see more about her, you can go to our website, stronghandsreborndad.com/Sarah. And I'll have the link there on the screen and in the description. She is, speaking of Sarah, she is our most expensive baby. And I remember when we were looking at it and I was talking to the artist and I was like, it'd be really nice to have a custom. And then when I told you the price tag, remind me, what was your reaction?
I don't remember, but I think I was more worried than anything.
Yeah, because it's $2,000. And, like we were talking about, because we're still just finishing up paying for our son's braces at the time, because we paid for the whole thing. It was like $1,500 for that. And, so it was like one of those things like where we obviously want to make sure we had all of that taken care of before then. But yeah, for those who don't know, I have a son. His name is Odie Jr. He just turned 9 years old, and I'm getting old.
Happens with everybody.
It does happen. I don't want it to happen. But yeah, Raven and I have been together for a really long time. We met in 2009. We met in college. I was in my last semester, and you were just starting.
Yes. Yes, I was.
Tell everybody, what was your major? What did you go in for?
It was for a major I wasn't really fully excited about. It was modern language.
Tell everybody, what is modern language? What is that?
Basically specializing in a foreign language like German, French, Spanish, something along those lines.
And you did Spanish, right?
Yeah. The focus was Spanish.
Nice. But you also had something that I didn't have, a scholarship.
I had a couple scholarships, 2 or 3 scholarships.
I think I had one scholarship. I was not that special. But you go in there, you were pretty much the straight A student.
I didn't feel like a straight A student.
You were smarter than me, and you know it. We were in different majors, otherwise I would have cheated off your test. I would have.
What test?
I know, right? But yeah, no, we've been together a really long time, and we started dating in 2009, early October, and we finally got married in 2015 in September. And it was 2 years after that when we had our son, Odie Jr. But yeah, Raven and I have been married for 10 years.
Over 10 years come this September.
That'd be 11, right?
Yep.
And I haven't once forgotten our anniversary.
Let's hope you don't.
I've been good. But yeah, so even from the very beginning, Raven knew about that I was interested in dolls. I just didn't really have any until later, much later. But you knew that I was interested. I had that kind of soft spot.
Yes.
And you stuck with me.
Yes.
Yeah. This isn't really new to Raven, this whole reborn doll thing. It's new because, number one, I actively started collecting rather than just kind of admiring. And I mean, it was kinda like one of those things where I was, like, addicted to watching YouTube channels about reborn dolls every day at that point, but I was interested, and I've got a whole video you guys can go watch on how I got into reborn dolls, where I go into much details, but as it relates to Raven and I, like, it wasn't a huge thing. I remember last July, we were talking about getting my first reborn, which was Evelyn, which technically speaking isn't actually a reborn. It was a manufactured doll, but it is a full body silicone. And one of the things that we thought at that time, I think I paid 140 something for that off eBay. And yeah, and it was only because it was on sale. Like it was like heavily discounted. And we thought that was expensive, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did.
And then now we went from that to a $2,000 doll. But there was a reason that we, like, at least for me, I was really interested in doing it. And we talked about the reborn dolls and that. But, the first thing for me is that making sure Raven's taken care of, we make sure things are done. And I appreciate, Raven being supportive. But this is just one, aspect. Raven and I actually work together. So we work in the same business. We have the same job title. She literally sits basically right behind me in the office.
Not exactly right behind you. More like kitty corner, back to back.
I can spin my chair and slide 3 feet and be at your desk.
Yeah, I know.
So yeah, we do have that dynamic, and so Raven and I do spend a lot of time together. And people think like, oh, well, it must be hard working with your wife and that, and it's not. Raven and I do the radio station thing together. She's the music director, and she also does work with the artists and that because we run an online station on the side. And so, but yeah, Raven and I have been through quite a bit together. I remember, talking about, when we had Junior, we wanted to have children because I have always had like kidney issues and that. And it was about that time we thought that, if we didn't have a kid then, that we wouldn't be able to later because we knew dialysis was coming. We knew a transplant was going to be needed. And for you, Raven, do you remember what was it like for you back then watching me be sick all the time?
It was rough. It was pretty rough. We're talking before junior or after junior?
Before.
Before junior, it was a bit rough. It didn't get bad until the dialysis itself started, and after we had junior, I was still able to manage doing like some stuff to help him out.
Yeah, but and it was really bad. And I can admit now, after Junior was born, I was really sick a lot. I was not usually able to do the 1 a.m. feedings and all of that. And in 2020, no, 2018, sorry, 2018, I started working for a TV station, and I had to be there really early in the morning, and it just made things really complicated, logistically trying to get to the TV station early in the morning for a newscast, and then being sick on top of that, because by the time I would get home from work, I would just be exhausted. It was hard some days just to go up and down stairs. And I can say now, one thing that I hate and I kind of wish I had the opportunity to do again is, the 1 a.m. feedings, the diaper changes. Raven really actually had to do almost all of them for quite a while there. And I really hate that. I feel terrible now about it. And for those who don't know, when Junior was born with complications. He was born totally blind, just like I was when I was a baby from cataracts. And he had to have 2 eye surgeries before he was even 3 months old. And one of those resulted back in the NICU out in Iowa City. And so we had a medically challenged child at birth, me being sick, and Junior had to be rushed to he was born in a smaller town, and he had to be rushed to like the bigger city, where they had more medical facilities, and they actually had to have two specialized nurses come out to where he was being born at because he was had to be born via C-section. And that first night when I went down to the NICU to see him, Raven was still at the other hospital. The doctor told me, because I said, how's he going to do? And is he going to be okay? And he, the doctor said, I don't know. Um, the next 24 hours will be really telling because he had pneumonia, his lungs were underdeveloped, and he was really sick. He was a really sick little guy. And so that was really challenging. And eventually Raven got out and we got to be there, but that first week of his life, like we didn't even get to hold him.
That was rough. Having to wait a whole week just to hold your child.
Yeah. And that leads into we didn't want to have another child for many years. Like we thought one and done. We neither one of us wanted to go through that experience again. And even today, like with the reborns and that's why I can't do preemies. I can't do the little babies. I will never have a preemie baby. I it For me emotionally, it's too much. It's too hard to remember my son that small and having to go through that. Then Raven and I actually had a period of time where she was actually kind of wanting to have a child and I wasn't. I still wasn't over it, but and then that passed and now this about a year ago now, I started, wanting to have a child again, and I think it was probably that desire to have a child that made me act and want to maybe get a reborn. I think that was one of the factors in it, but I'd also heard that they can help with anxiety, and I was dealing with a lot last summer. I had just gotten let go from a job that I had had for almost 3 years, and I was just getting ready to start a new job. There was a lot of anxiety in that going and a lot of uncertainty then too. And so thankfully we both landed, but it started the discussion. Raven and I have been looking into IVF, in vitro fertilization, and or possibly some form of adoption. And so everyone thinks that, like, why don't you just adopt? And it's hard. And I guess I should back up real quick because we had been trying to have a child again, actually, naturally a little bit, but we also had those genetic concerns because there's a gene that my son and I share called ZNF 408, which is the gene that caused congenital cataracts as well as other eye defects. And so part of the idea was that we would do IVF so we could hopefully avoid that gene being passed down. And then we did testing on me and Raven actually, but I didn't want to put Raven on there because I told her we wouldn't talk about her testing. But for me, it's the main factor, and we did testing for me, and because of the immune suppressants, because of some other factors, it would be very difficult for me to have a child naturally. Um, and so IVF probably is our best bet of having an actual child again. And yeah, and knowing that we've been waiting and all of that, when when we were thinking about getting Sarah this last December, it was kind of a big choice because I had already gotten Evelyn, I'd already gotten Livy about that time, my Ashton Drake doll, but I wanted that experience of having like a really hyper realistic baby. And um, we were talking about it, and I guess let me ask you, Raven, what made you, you know, finally okay with spending this kind of money for the doll?
They, as you know, and they're not my thing, but I do see that they uh, give you like a calming presence. Like they're able to help you calm down or make you a little happier.
They make me happy. Yeah. Yeah, and they do. And Raven, it's not her thing, and I try really hard not to push too hard on her. And her doing this video, she's, as you can kind of tell, she's not one to be on camera, and I really just appreciate her doing this. And what focusing now, and with Sarah, when we got her, Sarah is like a placeholder, right? She's not a real baby. We don't treat her like a real baby, but being able to hold a doll like this that feels so real, it just gives me something to hold on to. It gives me an anchor point to think we haven't given up yet. Insurance right now is a bit of a challenge with Raven starting a new job just this last December. We actually have to wait a year before the coverage we have for IVF with that policy will kick in to cover IVF. And obviously, it's very expensive. One quote we got was just over $16,000. But yeah, it's quite expensive. And obviously, spending $2,000 on a doll when I could have put in that $2,000 into part of the treatment, that was a factor. But I think there's something to be said about emotional investment because it makes it feel more real. I can change her, hold her, and it helps give me some place to put that stress.
I do support Odie. I it like I said, it's not my thing, but I have my ways of supporting him. Like I get the doll clothes and I see that they help make him happier.
So Raven, when it comes to the Strong Hands Reborn Dad channel, since it's kind of taken off quite a bit, do you support me in that channel?
I do.
Good. I appreciate it, and that means a lot to know that even behind the scenes that she's cheering me on. I really appreciate that. And good Lord willing, we're a Christian family. We believe the Lord provides. We pray, all the time that He would help us have a child. One thing that we've looked at, I'll just say too, talked about adoption, is we've looked at embryo adoption, and because that would be a way for us to, have a child. Raven would essentially bring it to term, and yeah, so yeah, the medical history might be different for the child, but otherwise, they would never, they would never know another family, and they would be ours from day one. And I think that's been kind of interesting for us to look at if it's not possible for us to have our own biological child. And so yeah, I just want to wrap up by saying when I'm role playing with these dolls and that, Raven and them always come first, and I'm always doing it from a place of that I know the dolls aren't real. I'm doing it for to help as a tool with emotional comfort and using them with what's called reborn doll therapy. So yeah, it's like it's just a little bit of a release. And but yeah, if you guys have any questions down below, I'd really appreciate it. Again, like and subscribe. But yeah, if you guys would like to just drop us a comment below with any questions that you guys have, and we really appreciate it. And until next time, guys, remember strength looks different here on Strong Hands Reborn Dad.